Shalom. So maybe it's good to start from yesterday night here in Nashville. I think 2 o'clock in the morning, I received a phone call from the wife of Netanel Iluz, a young pioneer in Chavat Yetedot with one daughter, a young couple who was arrested. And now the Minister of Security, Gallant, announced that he's going to be arrested for 4 months without any court, without any judgment, without any evidence, only because somebody maybe from the US make pressure that we need to do something with those settlers. They are the core of the problems instead of Hamas. So this is how my day started from here. And then we have few people who were arrested because they stopped the trucks of aid. You know, there is a left journalist, Yari, who just said that at least $500 million went to Hamas through those trucks. But they are selling the products and so on. So we are sponsoring our enemies. I represent a group of pioneers of Maccabee modern times who have one thing in their heart. They want to protect Israel and they want to bring redemption. As Tommy just said, your father said, beautiful, they want to bring physically the redemption that we are, the spiritual vision that we are all having. And this is a day. And together with that, we have threats. You know, around us, there are villages who are only waiting to kill us. And this is, in the beginning of that, in the 7th of October, we have only 4 rifles. And in front of us, we have Nazis with hundreds of rifles who want to kill us. And this is the situation right now.
And I know I talked to you, Nati. We were in the U.S. together a few months ago as well, and it's hard. It's hard for you to fly out, and you have, you know, security is an issue. We're going to talk more about security. Your family's back there. You're getting calls, and you're wondering, how do I deal with this? Yishai, 2 or 3 minutes on the life of Yishai, a daily. What's a day like in the life of Yishai?
Okay, I got to get up in the morning, and first thing I got to do is help the kids get out to school, right? And that's very important to remember that. Like before anything else, we're raising children. That's number one. And if you raise them in faith, and it's not just faith. It's faith, but it's connected to stuff on the ground. And they learn the Bible in school. They come home, they see their parents are part of that. They're living the land, speaking the language of the Bible. My son goes out to shepherd in a relatively dangerous place. He's 12, and he's already a shepherd, and he's very serious about that. So you get them out to school. Then I run to pray. You got to pray just to make it today, okay? You got to start off with the day of prayer, with prayer. And that's something that we do, and we take that seriously. In prayer time, I also take some minutes to study Torah, because we're commanded that we have to learn Torah every single day. Torah is deep, and there's a lot of it, and that's God's word. And one of the things I'm going to ask God when it's my time, I'm going to ask him, why did you make the world so complex? And Torah so rich, and why there's so many bugs and so many stars? But the answer is because that's the way God chose it. And so Torah is very deep. There's a lot to study. Then I head out to Hebron. First thing I do is I like to go to the tomb of Ruth and Yishai, Ruth and Jesse, which is a project that I've taken upon myself for the last 2 years to beautify. And I check on the Hebrew workers that are there. Sometimes I get organized with Hayovel to come and volunteer, and many of you have been there. And we've helped turn a site that was derelict and forgotten and destroyed into a site that Jews are proud of, the Arabs are afraid of, and the nations can connect with. So that's part one. Then I go do my job, which is work for the Jewish community of Hebron. Usually I'm touring around. This week I toured around Wall Street Journal reporters. Explained to them what was going on and connected them to other people. Then sat down and planned the Israel Day Parade float that we're floating on in New York City on June 2nd for the Israel Day Parade. And then I was talking with a group and that asked me to speak to them at the Tomb of the Mamas and the Papas. And when I got there, exactly at that moment, a Army general, 3-star Army general, walked past us, and he happened to be a Druze. He's not Jewish. He speaks Arabic. He's like an Arabic person, but not a Muslim. And he works for our army. And he works in the Kogat, the army civil administration that's supposed to help Jews communicate with Arabs and make sure that that everybody's getting their services. So he tells this group, this American group, he's like, in an Arabic Israeli accent, he says to them, listen, 70% of the Arabs that live here, that I come in contact with, tell me, I wish Israel would just rule here. I hate Palestine. I hate the PA. They're jihadists. They are corrupt as anything. So I really wish that they would rule here. Then later on, I took that group to lunch, and another guy came to speak, and he's like, 70% of the Arabs are in favor of Hamas on October 7th. So my American friends were like, they're like, well, which one is it? And I said to them, you got to become a Middle Easterner. The answer is so obvious. Which one is it? Are they pro-Hamas or pro-Israel? The answer is whoever is strongest. If you're strong, I'll follow you. If you're a jihadi, well, that's great. If you're going to kill Jews and Israelis and we're going to take over, then that's great. Oh, if you're Israel and you're going to destroy the jihad, you're going to rule here and keep everything clean and nice and functional, then that's great. So that's a part of the day. And then, you go home, have dinner, and do the nighttime stuff, a little video, and get back to work.
Incredible. Who's jealous? Who's a little bit jealous? Going to the tomb of the mamas and papas every day. I love that.
When I leave my town, there's a sign that says, to the right, Jerusalem, to the left, Hebron and Beersheba. Every day, I'm like,
every day.
There
every
you
day.
go. That's
incredible.
It.
Okay, I know Ari's a little bit, as soon as you mentioned your family, Ari's almost started to cry already. But Ari, go ahead. What's your day? I know.
Well, does this work? Okay. So, yes, indeed. That's just what I had a little bit of an out-of-body experience, and I just want to share with you. Just one of those, I'm sitting here with Nati Rom and Yishai Fleisher, and I'm like, how in the world did I end up sitting next to them on the same level as them? It's just, I'm not being like the humble guy. I'm actually just being honest. Just so you know, Nati Rom is a famous character in Israel. He's famous in Israel because every time that these insane decrees from the U.S. government in which they're trying to create this false, insane moral equivalence between extremist settlers and Hamas, because they try to always make it like both sides, and they arrest these sweet, innocent, loving, idealistic, shepherds, nobody's there to defend them or to protect. Nati does it pro bono. He's there. I've been in the courtroom. I have been in the courtroom when he does it. He's brilliant and he's fierce, and I was exhausted at the end of it. And then he goes out, hey, let's go out. I mean, it's just, he is truly a hero. Yishai Fleisher, I've already sang his praises. I don't want to spend the whole time just talking about them, but it's really a tremendous thing. And Yishai said yesterday, I'm friends with people who do action. And I'm grateful that he makes an exception for me. Because the truth is, I'm 44 years old, so is my wife. And God has blessed us overwhelmingly. My cup poureth over more than I could possibly explain. That God has blessed us that in the past 4 years, we've had 3 children. So at the age of 40, we had our first daughter, Dvash. Her name is Dvash, which means honey. But I know in English it sounds trite. Honey, like honey boo boo or whatever. But in Hebrew, it's the land of milk and honey. You don't open a Torah portion without reading about Dvash. And so my wife's grandmother, her name is Esther Ziesel, which means Esther's sweetness. And she was an Auschwitz survivor. And she was still able to be happy and sweet. So we named our daughter Dvash Esther, the honey of... Anyways, I'm like using all my time. I'm talking about my kids, which is obviously what was going to happen. And then my son Shiloh, he's 2. And then we have little Mordechai Shimshon, and he's 5 months old. And especially with Dvash, my soul is intertwined with hers. If I could, I would literally just be with my children all the time on our mountain in Judea. But we're not in the days of redemption yet. So I wake up, my day, I'm just going to make it very short, wake up at 5 o'clock if I'm lucky, because that's when they wake up. And I enjoy every moment with them up until they go out I drive my son, Shiloh, to Efrat. Which is from my settlement, my mountaintop, it's about 15 minutes through a number of Arab villages. And it's, there's things that happen sometimes there. And I'm always grateful every day. I'm grateful that we've made it another day in the hills of Judea. And so I take him there and then I pray with Yishai at the same minyan in the morning. And then I go back and I tend to the chickens, I do farm stuff or whatever, not that much farm stuff, but farm stuff. And then I prepare, I'm learning Torah. We teach Torah. My partner Jeremy and I, we have something called the Land of Israel Fellowship. And a number of people here, actually in the fellowship, we said, let's get together. We had 70, 50, I don't know how many people. It seemed just tremendous. And so it's like a little mini family where we talk every week about the Torah and whatever. And so there's the plug for that. And then I'm almost done. But you know what? I'm done.
Great.
I'm done. That's what I do.
That's a day. That's a day.
Kids and Torah. Torah
Kids
and my
Torah.
children.
And a lot more that we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Groups,
more.
yeah.
Groups, tons of groups coming in there. Yishai, I'm going to direct a few specific questions here now. And it's going to be a little bit, this topic is a little bit challenging to discuss because all of us are, we're more into the solving the problems, not talking about the problems, but this panel is not about solving the problems. We're really just telling you what's going on. There's going to be a panel later on talking about what we're actually going to do to fix these issues. But right now, we're just bringing you the facts on the ground. What is going on in Judea and Samaria? So we're getting ourselves into that box. It's a little bit tough to do that because we're automatically going to, let's solve it. But right now, we're just going to do this. So specifically, Yishai, on this, we kind of hinted in it a little bit earlier. With the backdrop of what we're seeing happen in Israel right now, Nati, we're going to take this to you next. What do you feel like in America right now? What is this pressure meaning to your fan? Like, you're involved a lot. You're talking to reporters all the time. There's a lot of negative forces coming from internationally at your communities, and you're buffeting that for your family and your councilman and Efrat. How does that fill us in a little bit on how that is? What's the pressure? What is it? How is it going on? Do you understand the question?
Yeah. It's important to understand something before we go any further. I just want to make it clear so that people can get it into their head. We, the three of us sitting, really the four of us sitting here on the panel, are settlers, so-called, quote-unquote settlers. And that's a negative term, but it's also accurate in the sense that it separates us a little bit from the rest of Israel, in the sense that the settler community is ahead of the state. We're not in lockstep with the state. The state is a little bit behind us. In fact,
Frontline.
Right, we're frontline, but that also means that sometimes our problem is the state of Israel is something that we have to manage, deal with, sometimes go around in order to make stuff happen. And sadly, the state of Israel feels a lot of pressure from the American forces. Recently, a horrific New York Times article came out, front page of the Sunday edition, full of lies, full of vitriol against Jews, full of vitriol against the government. I called the reporter up, and I'm like, and he was an Israeli reporter, actually well-known and respected. I said, what are you doing? I said to him, I don't know if you're an anti-Semite, but you're certainly feeding the anti-Semites, for sure. He didn't respond to that. He didn't like that. But we're out there facing a lot of pressure. For example, Tomb of Ruth and Yishai, I have to constantly work around to make sure that the army doesn't stop me from beautifying this ancient tomb. I got to make sure that the Arabs don't get too angry and then write a letter saying it's their property and then have to face the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said to us that you're allowed to build an ark for the Torah, but it better not be connected physically to the site. It has to be, you have to be able to take it out when we come and take you out. So, and people, and that's the reality. We're always like, I just had to put more lighting in towards the very ancient well in Hebron where Abraham drank from. No question about it. That's the well of Abraham, well of Sarah, well of King David. I had to light up the place. So I told my electrician, put on an army uniform so that like they think you're one of them and go to, maybe I shouldn't be saying this out loud. All right, whatever. Knock on the Arab people's houses' doors so that you could put lighting on top of their houses. Do whatever you can in order to get it done. And so right now there's a time where we also feel there's this new thing about what I call Biden's heroes. That's the folks that are being, what's the word? What is he doing, Biden, to these Jews? He's sanctions. Thank you. He's sanctioning these like good Jews on the front lines, literally land-stealing Arabs together with leftist organizations and Euro trash are actually feeding names to the Biden administration in order to sanction them. So we're dealing with that like right now. I know good people Minister Ben-Gvir's closest assistant has been sanctioned by the Biden administration, and a clear signal to him. So we are in a conflict. We have a conflict with Arabs who, just as I told you last night or this morning, burnt 1,000 dunams of land just next to Efrat just yesterday. We have leftist organizations. We have Euro folks coming in, funding anti-Israel stuff, grabbing land in the South Hebron Hills and other places. We got the Israeli government slowing us down. We got the military sometimes with us, sometimes against us. We're facing a lot of obstacles, and I'm saying this. This is the dirty laundry panel, right? This is where we talk about the real problems that we face. We face all these problems. We have supporters, we have lovers, we have people who are with us. We have super courageous youth on the front line. We got shepherds, we got farms, we got the Bible, we got God, we got the next generation coming with us. But it's a war out there. It's a war every single day.
Yishai, give me just to wrap this concept up. Give me a percentage. What is the international pressure, good versus bad?
Oh yeah, it's mostly bad. It's mostly bad. I heard your father's speech earlier about not welcoming the Jews with bread and water. They're not welcoming us with bread and water.
90%?
I would say 80%. I still think that there's the folks out there, the Geert Wilders in this world, the Musab Hassan Yusuf of this world, the Lika Laban. There's folks out there who are making good positive noise for Israel, but there's a lot of pressure out there to shrink Israel. There's a lot of Israel shrinkers out there.
That's horrible. We'll change that. All right, because we're getting to solutions.
That's in the next panel, Chad. Relax. Okay.
Nati, how does this affect you? We're talking about people that are being sanctioned. We're talking about this is what you are dealing with every day. How does this pressure that Yishai has just outlined to us, this force of evil coming against the nation of Israel, how does that affect you every day? You told one story, but fill it out a little.
Yeah, so it's every day, as you said, and as Yishai said. In the morning, we have a group who said, where the anarchists, the left radical woke people who are coming from the States or coming from Israel, and they start their day by looking for trouble and try to do troubles to pioneers over there. And they go to Hebron, they go to Samaria, to the Jordan Valley.
Are you saying those peaceful people are not so peaceful?
They're not so peaceful.
Right.
They go into Israel with a visa, tourist visa, and all the target is to go and to do troubles and to and violence against the pioneers in the heartland of Israel. And now, as Yishai said, the next step, they just go and snitch to Biden in the Oval Room and say, oh, this guy, for example, Moshe Sharvit, without even one criminal record, without any hearing, any procedure to check, just because some left people who hate Israel and hate our presence in Judea and Samaria snitch on him to the Americans. And here we see his brother, Ariel. He is the two brothers who started such an important ranch in the edge of Shechem, of Nablus, in the Jordan River. They stop stealing the government. They are keeping the government land of Israel, and they are there with a permit. They have a gazing land permit that we help to achieve. They are there legally, as we say. They're shepherding there, and it's a strategical point. And this is why our enemies are gathering together with some forces who are here in the States to fight us. And this is a daily work. So his brother, Ariel, was killed in Gaza in the battle, our hero. Ariel, our biggest heroes, and now they are sanctioned. And what is those sanctions? You cannot have a credit card. You cannot have, all the money in the bank is frozen. People who gave donation to help you to continue, receive the money back and cannot continue. And
define their crime.
Their crime was to do whatever they can to protect Israel and to keep sovereignty on Bibi always said, the first thing I will do in my next election will be to pay to sovereignty on the Jordanian valley. He didn't do it. They are the keepers of the land. They are keepers of the promise, keepers of the way of Hashem. Really, this is what they do, and there are sanctions by what is supposed to be our biggest ally. And this is the craziness. And not to mention the demolition. People don't know. The Americans, they push to put aid to Hamas, and they push to destroy new villages in Judea and Samaria, and we have families who their home were demolished time after time during a war. Instead of bringing hundreds of soldiers and policemen to fight our war and to keep Israel. They are the international forces who are pushing Israelis to fight against their own interest and people.
To boil it down, their crime is standing against a two-state solution that the rest of the world has decided Israel needs to accept. They're rejecting that. Israel rejects that. Israel's government rejects that. But because the citizens of Israel are protecting their lands, saying no to a two-state, yes to as Ambassador Friedman would say, a one Jewish state, it's criminalized by the international community.
Yeah, but just to add something else, there's also good things that are happening. I'm distributing together with others those Temple Mount, soon in our days, patches to put, because we need to know what we are fighting for.
How many soldiers are wearing these patches when they go in?
Everywhere I go.
Tell me about all the patches on the soldiers real quick.
The stories that we have with those patches. Say, why you don't, you want to patches, everybody's coming.
Everybody knows what we're talking about the shoulder patch that, like the, what do we call those? There's a name for them? Just a patch on the shoulder. Yeah, for military guys.
And they...
Tell me what's on those patches. All right, fill in real quick, because you love these. You actually have one in the back.
You guys said, you're a speaker, you're coming all the way. We'll give you a table to sell things. I'm like, oh, what should I sell? Can I bring a goat? I don't know what I'm going to sell. And so I was like, oh, wait a second, these patches. And so what happened? The war breaks out, and soldiers around the world, what do? They have a pouch that says their unit. So I was in Golani and Givati, and there's the paratroopers. But then these patches started coming out that had a picture of the third temple, and a picture, and then the word Mashiach, Messiah. And all the soldiers are taking off these, the paratroopers are like, no, I'm fighting for redemption. I'm fighting for the temple. That's what I'm fighting. And really, what does that mean? What does the temple mean? World peace. They're actually fighting, we look at our enemies, and deep down in the heart of every warrior of Israel, there's a desire not to kill them, but to hug them. We want peace with them. That's what the temple represents. That's what our deepest aspiration is for. But we need to do what we need to do to protect ourselves, which, by the way, I think that's part of the reason that Jews are such incredible fighters, because we don't really want to. There's like a sober, dispassionate ability to assess the situation, as opposed to them like, murder, kill, it's like insanity. Insanity, how can you be an effective fighter that way? I know you just asked about the patches. So I brought them here, and I said, don't worry, nobody's going to buy them. And then they came to me after my speech last night, they're like, they're sold out. Right. I was like, what? Why would Christians in Nashville want a third temple Messiah? Now I know. So yeah.
Next time. Okay, we're gonna Ari, I want you, we've talked about the higher levels. Yeah, you got something?
I just need to clarify something for a second.
Yeah.
It's a point and a half, which is this. Your government, your administration is right now seeking out Jews to sanction that are holding on to Judea and Samaria. That's what they're doing. And they're doing it without equal application of the law, because they're not finding the Palestinians who are violent, so-called Palestinians. They are not, it's not through due process. There's no judgment, there's no court, and there's no sovereignty to Israel. It's an abrogation of Israel's sovereignty. They're just picking out people to pick on and bully. And you have not done enough to make your voice heard that says no. Yeah. You have not done enough. I'm telling you right now. And if I could leave you with a charge just to say this is absolutely abhorrent. This is our ally. We should not be sanctioning people holding on to the land of Israel, and we should not be favoring the jihad, which is what it is. When you are sanctioning those folks, those boys out there in Judea and Samaria, what you're basically saying is, we want Hamas to take over this land. We want October 7th. Without saying it, that's what it says. And so I charge you, get out there and make your voice heard on this issue.
That's right. Ari.
Okay, so I'm going to start with this story about happened maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm walking through our olive groves with one of my beloved mentors and friends, Tommy Waller. And we're going through the olive groves, and then we run into this group of rabid and angry leftists. It's, a lot of them were like these Ramat Aviv, Tel Aviv, leftist women with short, spiky, purple hair. It's like a very intolerable demographic of Jews. I love them. I would die for them. They're my brethren, but it's just hard to tolerate. And they're there in our fields. There's Arabs there, and it's obvious what's happening. We're now being ambushed by this far-left organization called Peace Now. They always co-opt words, and so funded largely by foreign governments, foreigners altogether, in order to subvert life here in Israel. So I went up to the woman. I realized what was happening. We're being ambushed, and they're going to try to destroy what we're doing. So I said, Shalom, ma Hashem shalach. Hello, what's your name? And she said, Ma Hashem shalcha. With so much hatred, I can't summon that much hatred for Hamas. She said, what's your name? And I said, Shem sheli Ari, bat levaker. My name is Ari. Did you come to visit? She's like, lo, ata mevaker. No, you're here visiting, she says. You understand what she's saying? We're going to get you out of here. So I don't know what to say. I said, Tishmi kulanu mevakrim ba'olam hazeh. We're all sort of visiting here in this world anyways, right? I don't know, just... and ultimately, end of the time, she's in my farm. I'm trying to be hospitable regardless. And so I'm walking away and I'm feeling like anger and hatred. No, there's no room for anger or hatred. You can always replace anger or hatred with compassion. And I looked and I said, why is this Israeli woman doing this? Because she believes that she'll be endearing herself to the enlightened Europeans. It's not me that she hates, it's the Jew within herself that she hates, that she's rejecting because she doesn't know. And it's not hard for her to have compassion for a woman that is missing out and working against the greatest joy and revolution in world history, which is the return to Zion. Anyways, a couple days later, there's an article in Haaretz, which is a left-wing rag in Israel, and then there's a Supreme Court against us. Foreign countries, European countries, and far-left organizations in Israel all suing us to destroy everything we're doing. It's called lawfare. Not warfare, lawfare. Just crippling us with legal expenses. Anyways, this is all about Biden and the two-state solution. I heard the two-state solution defined by Douglas Murray as saying Michigan and Minnesota. That's a two-state solution. Why? Because in the desire to curry favor with these 40,000 Arabs, he's willing to have the entire Middle East go up in flames. And not only that, even worse, the greatest injustice to create this false moral equivalence. Tell me the name of one Arab, an innocent Arab who was killed by a Jew who left his home to premeditatedly kill an Arab in 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, 2020, 2019. Well, who are these extremist violent settlers that are being sanctioned? I used to think sanctions are an economic penalty against a rogue nation like Iran. No, sanction is against Yossi Goldberg, who wakes up in the morning, goes to the store to buy some eggs and milk. No, credit card doesn't work. He goes to his bank. I'm sorry, we had to show you're sanctioned by the U.S. government, but you're an Israeli bank. Well, they threatened us, and so we had to. And so they just sanction these innocent Jews. So I'm proud to say that I can announce now that I am I'm a significant part of a class action lawsuit. I am personally suing the Biden administration. Yeah. And you should applaud for my wife also, because I said to her, there could be real consequences for us if we do this, because they came and said, we're like, I'm a U.S. citizen, and these people are helpless and defenseless that are being sanctioned. And so I said, we could really have real consequences. And she said, if we don't do this, who will? And so we're suing the Biden administration. But I want to say one last thing. What's happening now is exactly what is supposed to be happening right now. It's what's supposed to be happening. Just consider the absurdity of the temple being destroyed, the Jewish people being dispersed around the world, all the prophecies of the Bible telling us, no, you will survive the dispersal, be brought back to your land. Nothing like that has ever happened. The ancient dead language of Hebrew will be revived. All of these absurd, impossible prophecies coming alive right now. And then here, in the book of Yoel, of Joel, it says, and in that time I will restore the fortunes of Judah and Jerusalem. I will gather all the nations to bring them to the valley of Yehoshaphat, the valley of the judgment of Hashem. Then I will contend with them there over my very own people Israel, which they scattered among the nations, for they divided my land amongst themselves. The idea that the prophets would have such high resolution clarity to see everything that's happening right now, it's happening right now as it should, to give us the opportunity to stand with the God of Israel and to stand with truth.
Amen. Nati, I couldn't agree with that more. Nati, I want to know, we're talking high level here. What are the families? What are the families of the communities? You're very connected to a lot of the communities. What are they feeling? Are they encouraged? Are they even looking out to see what the nations are even talking about? Are they just single focused? Are they like not even concerned about this? Give us a quick snapshot of what the regular family in Yudea and Samaria, in Judea and Samaria, what are they feeling?
So I think the entire society of Israel, even if you are afraid to admit, something in the security, the inner security feeling was hurt in 7 October, and especially in Judea and Samaria and the mixed cities in Israel. And when we say never again is now. And when we say we need to protect life, and people are in this dimension of feeling, they don't reply to the New York Times demonization of the settlers because they don't have time, because they're protecting their life. They also don't have the tools, and maybe we'll speak about it, but they are afraid, and this is something we need to fix. We need to prevent the next 7 October. God forbid, who can be 10 times more in the area of Jordan Valley, in Judea and Samaria, and in the mixed area. Yeah, just 2 days ago, the Arabs in Lud, in the center of Israel, next to the airport, shoot in the streets and make fires all over. All the city was thinking.
And you're not talking about inside Judea and Samaria. You're talking about
Lud, in the center
next to the airport, in center of Israel.
We have Nazis around us. The Nazis of Gaza are not different from the Nazis of Judea and Samaria. My next village, the New York Times wanted to interview me, and thanks God I canceled it after a few minutes when I understand what they want. But I showed them pictures of the Kutzra, the picture next to us with an 85 Holocaust survivor woman who was kidnapped, and there are 4,000 replies to this in the official Kutzra Facebook, praising those Hamas Nazis who are killing us and raping our brothers and sisters. And this is something that needs to be stopped, and needs to be stopped now.
Yeah.
It's really a danger, and this is where people are. They are praying that Israel will wake up, not woke up, but wake up.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are praying that this will be the last price we need to pay, the last war. And unfortunately, we need more and more people to join us also for the nations.
Yishai, give us a quick what do you feel like? There has been a major demographic change within the Israeli population. October 7th did, as Nati mentioned. What are the families of Israel? What is their thought towards Judea and Samaria? Where are we at right now?
You know, Josh, I have to just kind of revert back to the last question and say the following. It's very important for you to understand, just like you're fighting for a better America, we're fighting for a better Israel. It's not, I want to make it clear, it's not like our country is on the right side of everything. If America is sanctioning these Jews, our country could be like, no. We're not going to allow that. We're not going to allow the credit cards to be stopped because the Jewish state was founded after the Holocaust in order to protect the Jewish people from bullying. And our state should not be a party to that. And it should be proud and stand up and say, no. Maybe you know our good friend Zev Ornstein from the city of David. He goes around Congress. You know what he told me? He told me congressmen are always saying to him, maybe Michelle Bachmann will verify this. They're like, stand up to the Biden administration. We'll back you up. America wants to back you up, but you got to stand up against it. Sadly, we are also fighting for the soul of Israel, and there's sadly in our country also people that are on the other side. The Israel shrinkers exist in Israel as well. We're trying to fight with them, and yes, there is an awakening, a realization that the people that hold on to the land, the so-called settlers, are actually the heroes of Israel.
That's right. And I think that's, we're running out of time here. We could sit here and talk about this for a long time, but we actually have more time on the panel for the solutions. And we can get a lot more excited about talking about solutions than we can just bringing up, this almost feels a little heavy. Nati, you had something to say.
Yeah, I just want to finish with a good thing. People, there is also positive. We are in front of redemption. Redemption is coming. Tshuva is coming. People are getting inner and inner. People understand more and more that without settle down the Holy Land of Israel as a promised land of Israel, as God told us, without settling down Gaza with Jewish people, there is no other solution. People are gathering together more and more in Israel, in Judea and Samaria, with the feeling that Mashiach is coming soon, redemption is coming. We will win that without America, with America, and hopefully with a lot of friends all over the world who will join us, because Amecha mi ve'Elohai Elohai, your God is my God, your people are my people, and we will win this, and Be'ezrat Hashem, everybody will join us, will be blessed, and we do it to be in front line for all the world, because my house will be called the house of prayer for all the nations.
Amen to that. And I will tell you personally, there is such great faith in these communities that a lot of you don't understand. So I hope you took that from Nati just now. I had a rabbi in Har Bracha in the Jewish community of Mount of Blessing that came to me and said, the Lion of Judah is about to roar. That kind of faith is what is covering the mountains of Israel. And these issues that we've just brought up today are not meant to discourage. but are going to lead us to our next panel that's going to be talking about what we're doing about it and what they're doing about it, and what the communities are doing about it. So don't be discouraged. We're going to break for